300,000 people from frontline workplaces will be able to get vaccinated outside of their age cohort.
Tonight, rollout makeover. The tide has changed in BC, with the province announcing more people will be eligible for a vaccine sooner than planned. PG planned. Tidewater has big plans for a biodiesel facility in the city, already financially supported by the provincial government.
These large companies are investing dollars in research and development and creating new products that are better for the environment, and we're seeing that in Prince George.
In criminal caught, RCMP have caught a repeat offender after he assaulted an employee at a local dollar store.
We were able to tie him to 3 separate break and enters, just from the belongings that he had on him.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We will get to the latest on big plans for biodiesel development in the city. But first, the province has announced major changes to how British Columbians will be vaccinated. The additional 340,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine means many British Columbians can get their vaccine sooner, regardless of their age. Cheryl Jan has tonight's top story.
Thank you, Adrian.
Premier John Horgan doesn't often preempt Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry, but today the news is big. The addition of another 300,000 doses of AstraZeneca means
over the coming months, that shipment will mean 300,000 people from frontline workplaces will be able to get vaccinated outside of their age cohort. That means that people who are working that cannot work remotely, people who are in outbreaks already, people who cannot work with full PPE or barriers in place, or people who live in congregate settings will be able to be included to this list.
Dr. Bonnie Henry laid out the specifics, which will see those additional vaccines rolled out starting at the end of this month. And the list of those who will be eligible includes a number of frontline workers, first responders, K-12 education staff, childcare staff, grocery store workers, postal workers, bylaw and quarantine officers, manufacturing workers, wholesale employees, staff living in congregate housing such as ski hills, correctional facilities and cross-border transport staff. But the concern expressed by the opposition is that those frontline workers have no means of signing up.
This government has had a year to think about putting a process in place that will allow for an expeditious vaccination rollout. And of course, that should include an online portal. When we look at other jurisdictions across the country, that is a tool that's in place and that is working.
The government is also making 15,000 doses available to Northern Health to target 5 large industrial camps in the region, like Coastal GasLink. The others are LNG Canada, Site C, Trans Mountain Pipeline, and Rio Tinto.
We do know that there are a number of industries that are more at risk, and they are having ongoing and repeated outbreaks. They have unique issues where it's difficult to have physical distancing, where wearing of PPE becomes challenging because of the nature of the work that people are doing. And we know that they're susceptible to ongoing outbreaks.
Meanwhile, the age-based schedule for vaccinations will resume as follows. Starting Saturday, those aged 79 and Indigenous peoples 55 years and older can be vaccinated, and down the line it goes. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.
That takes us to the latest COVID-19 cases reported in BC. 622 new cases of the virus, with 30 more of those right here in Northern Health. Unfortunately, 8 more people have died due to the virus. There are 4,941 active cases here in BC, slightly up from yesterday, along with 136 new variant cases of the virus, for a total of 1,132 variant cases reported. There are 286 people in hospital, 85 of whom in the ICU. And good news, as 465,584 doses have been administered of vaccine in the province. That is up by 20,000 since yesterday. And back in the city, a prolific offender is facing a dozen charges after police allege he attacked an employee at a store on the 700 block of Central Street West on Monday morning. Prince George RCMP say William McBride was arrested in police custody within minutes of being tipped off. An investigation revealed that store employees had asked McBride to leave as they suspected him of shoplifting. When staff approached him, he became belligerent and struck one of them. When officers went through McBride's belongings, they found various items, including laptops, equipment, iPads, and webcams.
3 separate break and enters, just from the belongings that he had on him. Thankfully, these businesses had gone to the effort of labeling their belongings with their business and corporate names, so it was easy to make sure that they didn't belong to Mr. McBride. The BC Prosecution Service has approved 12 charges against Mr. McBride, including assault, possession of stolen property over $5,000, multiple charges of possession of stolen property under $5,000, mischief.
And one man is now dead following an off-road vehicle rollover south of Kersley. RCMP say that just after 5 p.m. on Wednesday, police arrived on scene to learn a side-by-side had rolled down a steep embankment and the sole occupant was seriously injured. The investigation revealed the driver was doing chores on his property and was dumping a load of debris when the UTV rolled 200 meters down an embankment and lodged in a tree. The driver tumbled another 200 meters where he landed on a dry bank, the Fraser River. The 71-year-old male was later taken to hospital here in Prince George but succumbed to his injuries. And Prince George RCMP are seeking witnesses to an alleged sexual assault which happened yesterday in the Vanway area. RCMP saying at approximately 3:20 on Wednesday afternoon, a female victim reported that a male had sexually assaulted her at the corner of Park Drive and Thompson Drive. Police have identified the victim and the suspect and say both parties are cooperating with police. RCMP are asking residents in the area to submit any video surveillance or dashcam video of the incident.
What we're looking for now is anybody that was in the area and might have seen or heard something going on around the 3:15 area on that corner. And we're also looking for anyone in the area who might have video surveillance that faces that area or possibly was driving by and has dash cam footage of that time frame that maybe shows something, people coming or going, or the altercation itself, just to help clarify the situation.
And yet another major biodiesel project is in the wings for Prince George. Tidewater announced last week its plans to invest millions of dollars here in Prince George in its operation. And it's not the first bioenergy project in discussions.
It was back in the fall of 2019 that Tidewater Midstream bought the Husky Refinery in Prince George, and now it has announced its intentions. Tidewater is proposing to construct a 3,000 barrel a day renewable diesel and renewable hydrogen complex located at the site of the existing Prince George Refinery for an estimated total project cost of $215 to $235 million. The project will convert 100% renewable feedstock into renewable diesel that is compatible with conventional diesel engines. The renewable diesel will have a carbon intensity approximately 80 to 90% lower than conventional diesel, leading to significantly reduced greenhouse gas emissions from diesel consumption in our region.
I understand they're still making a final investment decision. However, the fact that they're intending to invest or doing research in order to invest in a green project and positively impacting the green economy in Prince George, that will create jobs, sustainable jobs into the future, and bring a lot of development dollars to the city as well.
Mayor Lynn Hall feels the latter part of Tidewater's statement is also important, that around greenhouse gas emissions.
But I think the other piece is around the environmental piece and the climate change discussion that we had and our plan it's in place, and those are important factors to all of this.
In its March 8th meeting, Council heard from the proponents of two other potential projects that would convert waste, wood or otherwise, into a green byproduct, making Tidewater's announcement the third bio-green project to be discussed for Prince George in a month.
What I think is fantastic is that these large companies are investing dollars in research and development and creating new products that are better for the environment, and we're seeing that in Prince George, so it's great news.
Final investment decisions are pending on all three bioenergy projects, and the city wants to reiterate it welcomes the investment.
I think over the years people have really understood that we're prepared to have those conversations. We're welcoming. We want to sit down and talk to you about your industry.
Tidewater says Prince George's existing logistics and utility infrastructure made it desirable for the investment here, as well as the province's commitment of $100 million in carbon credits.
It's about those key partnerships between a municipal government and a provincial government, and we've really created that. And so when the province comes forward with those kinds of incentives and they earmark a particular project to receive those carbon credits, that indicates to us that they have faith in that particular project.
Tidewater is also investing $10 million in the existing facility to incorporate a canola co-processing plant. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.
And if you're planning on any home renovations or home building, you could be in for a sticker shock at the lumber yard. The price of wood is skyrocketing.
Figuratively speaking, builders North America-wide are getting hammered. The cost of lumber is through the roof, with today's prices soaring in rarefied air. And they're not up just a bit. In some cases, prices have quadrupled in the last 18 months. In its simplest explanation, this is a story of little supply and lots of demand. COVID apparently has given many of us time to think about home renovations.
A lot of people staying home and wanting to make changes in their home or put up a deck or a fence, and so our repair and remodeling sector that demands our building products is very strong. And in addition, what we're seeing is very strong housing start numbers out of the U.S.
And here's what that demand looks like graphically. Last year, 1,000 board feet of 2x10s or 2x4s cost about $300 U.S. Today, over $1,000. Triple. Sheets of plywood and oriented strand board were under $300 in 2019 and now at $1,200 U.S. Quadruple.
The price for lumber is just off the charts.
Great for provincial revenue and for sellers of softwood, but terrible for just about everyone else. It's being called the perfect storm that's giving retailers all manner of headache. They find themselves much more exposed to risk, having to pay suppliers today's prices, but not taking delivery for 2 months when who knows where the prices will be.
The lumber mills are so backed up that we need to buy product now if we want to make sure that we have plywood or lumber to sell in May. So what we're needing to do is commit to prices and hope that it doesn't fall off before it gets here.
And increasing production in BC to meet demand isn't that easy. Mills have been closing as the province continues to reduce the annual allowable cut. The devastation caused by the pine beetle is one reason.
The cut's also coming down because we had 2 very difficult and devastating fire seasons in 2017 and 2018.
Bottom line for the consumer, you'd be well advised to price out your lumber costs for that deck or renovation before you start construction.
And the province has announced some much-needed funding for airports here in northern BC. Just yesterday, we showed you about some of the challenges facing the Vanderhoof Airport. And today, it is one of the airports to get a piece of the $3.6 million in provincial funding. The funding is for infrastructure works, and Vanderhoof will receive about $400,000. 2 projects here in Prince George will get $500,000.
It's phase 2 of our airport development project, which will take the old apron and repave it, and then taxiway Alpha and Bravo will get redone as well. And they'll probably need to have there's some new culverts and there's a couple things like that need to be done. But that's not the total size of the project. We also got $125,000 from NDI and $40,000 from the Regional District of Bulkley-Chaco.
And coming up next year on the CKPG News, we hear the heartbreaking story of a Prince George family who lost a loved one in the overdose crisis. And coming up next, we'll get some tips on how to deal with those who suffer from wandering dementia. And when Ethan Reddy joins us for sports, we catch up with the PGSS hockey program, who recently received a big donation from the NHL Players Association. But first, it looks like we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for those ICBC rebate checks the province has been promising. The insurance corporation says it was planning on sending out those checks this week, but now says the program has hit a roadblock because of a cyber attack on the company hired to deal with the checks. The corporation says there's no indication that any personal information was actually obtained, noting the attack did not impact the systems at ICBC. But ICBC won't say when the checks will finally be issued, only that the delay is expected to be minimal. And as the COVID pandemic runs rampant through British Columbia, so does the overdose crisis. It's been especially hard on the northern part of BC, including right here in Prince George. Randy Marie Adams spoke with a family who lost not one, but 2 family members to drugs.
This is Jason. He is one of the many faces of the overdose crisis here in BC and Prince George. Jason OD'd and died on March 28th, 2020.
Anybody that knows Jason, knew Jason, has nothing but good things to say about him. He was very well loved, athletic, he could play guitar, funny. Yeah, he was a riot.
Unfortunately, Jason lost his sister at the age of 28 to a car accident. And sadly, he lost his brother in 2017 due to overdose.
And from there, he definitely started doing a little bit of partying and occasional stuff. And then I'm not sure where it got heavy. I think it was somewhere around the time where there was the mother of his two sons moved away with the boys. So he wasn't able to have any real contact with them, and that really hit him hard.
This brings us now to the final day. It was the day he was going to go home and get the help he needed.
Our mom that found him, and she thought he was sleeping too, right? So she went to go wake him up, and yeah, he was gone. He was in his sleeping bag in front of, on the sidewalk in front of the Needle Exchange downtown, where he lived. And that's where he passed.
When you look at Jade, you can see her father in her eyes. It's almost been a year, and she is slowly coming to terms with his death. However,
I am more angry, definitely, because it's the system built around it that failed him. It wasn't us. I always thought, well, I could have done more, my grandparents could have done more, and it not our choice.
Jade says her dad didn't want to die. He wanted the help. He wanted to be with his family again.
Well, I think at first, obviously, I was really devastated, sad, because in my head I knew that, my dad wanted to get treatment. He wanted help. It wasn't like he was down there and just didn't care about life.
There are many people who suffer from this disease. It's not just the homeless. This family wanted to share the story of Jason to show that this crisis has many faces. There are people who are often forgotten about or looked past and avoided when walking down the street.
Because I want people to see that the people down there have family, they have people who love them. It's not like we're just disregarding them or doing nothing.
This is Jason Garneau. He was 43 years old.
Living with a person who has dementia is not without its challenges. From time to time, those living with the disease are known to wander away from home. Tonight, as Dave Branco tells us, there are some things you can do to make a big difference for those with the disease.
A simple activity like going for a walk is not a dangerous activity. Still, it can become dangerous when a person living with dementia becomes disoriented or the environment they are in poses a risk.
Not everyone with dementia will wander, okay? But it does happen. And I would say it's really important for caregivers and family members just to be aware that it may happen.
Dementia is a direct result of physical changes in the brain, and there are some common reasons why they may walk or drive away.
Coping, right? It's a way for them to cope. So they're sort of maybe pacing. The temperature, it's too hot, it's too cold. It could be their medications. The environment itself no longer looks familiar to them.
Reducing the temptation to leave home can prevent a person living with dementia from walking away.
We have our hat and coat and our boots hanging by the door. And for someone with dementia, that might be a cue to say, oh, there's my hat and my coat and my boots. I need to go somewhere.
When a person goes missing, keep in mind that you are not alone and others are available to help.
We've done a few cases where somebody's gotten into the basement and they've got trapped in the basement and nobody didn't look the basement, so we come in and do that. We really want to know that the immediate spots right around the house have been looked at, and that, we also want to know has the person been really reminiscent of their childhood, areas they used to go as a kid, go swimming and walking, because people like to wander, people like to go back to that state of when they were enjoying the outdoors or enjoying their farm, so they're going to wander and walk. Advice we can always give people is don't go out by yourself at night looking for a person with dementia.
For some search and rescue teams around the province, searching for people with dementia has become part of their regular call-outs.
Some of the teams in the Lower Mainland are doing more and more dementia calls. So it is on the rise across the province, and I don't see it really leveling off anytime soon with our aging population.
Caregivers looking for resources on the challenges of living with dementia can contact the Alzheimer's Society of BC. Dave Branco, CKPG News.
And it's been about a year since the pandemic hit, and that has caused things to look very different at the Prince George Salvation Army. The Salvation Army has been operating throughout the pandemic, but at limited capacity and restrictions with the grocery aisle that facility had to eliminate due to COVID-19 precautions. Major Neil Wilkinson says this meant they were no longer able to engage with their guests on a one-on-one basis.
It's been tough for us as an organization having to revert back to pre-packed hampers, but it's also been a really big challenge for our guests because now they're not getting the choice anymore of what was going in their food hampers.
All right, that takes us to today's weather forecast. It was a bit of a gross day in Prince George, I guess. Not much sunshine to be had, and a lot chillier than what we've seen recently here in the city, and I'm afraid those conditions are going to continue. You can see the sun is trying to poke out there at the corner of the screen, but not quite there, and that was kind of the case for most of today. It was trying, but it just couldn't quite do it. Today's air quality across our region was relatively good for all three of our air quality regions. I know Burns Lake did have a dust advisory in effect, and that has since been knocked down. So that is good news due to precipitation there overnight. Our almanac were right above the normal temperature as far as highs go today. It did feel warm, even though it was warm on the temperature scale, even if it didn't feel warm at times with some wind gusts bringing a bit of a chill, but a low just sitting there at -2. Sunset at 7:21 p.m. as we take a look currently outside. It feels like 11 degrees with some sunny conditions. The clouds are over top of it for most of the day today, but it is trying. It is trying, and you can't blame it. It is March overall. You never really know what you're going to get. Could snow, could rain, it could be sunshine all within a span of 15 minutes. For most of the broadcast region, though, it was a good day, relatively speaking, as well. Most of us above 5 degrees and right around 10 for some cases at Prince George, Quesnel, and McBride. As we take a look across the rest of the province here, a fair amount in double digits. How about Kamloops? Right around 20 degrees and precipitation all day long as we take a look at our CKPG snapshot. This one sent in by Roy Ray. It's a coyote right around Vanderhoof. It's a beautiful wild dog and a great shot by Roy Ray from Vanderhoof. It's very majestic, I guess you could say, that's for sure. Coming up next here on the CKPG News, Hockey Canada loves him, but this Prince George Cougars goaltender is still waiting for his name to be called to work in the NHL. Some people will do anything for likes on social media. In India, a man posted a video of himself doing push-ups on top of a moving car. Police in Uttar Pradesh tweeted the video and wrote, quote, "Some push-ups will only bring you down in the eyes of the law," eventually giving the man a ticket for doing that. The video posted by the UP police has gone viral on social media, generating over 61,000 views.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Mix and match two favorites for only $7.99 each. Choose from chicken, pastas, or medium two-topping pizzas.
And Ethan Reddy joins us for sports. I know I go to the gym fairly often, but doing push-ups on top of a car.
We go to the same gym. I know you don't go.
Well, you got me there.
All right.
But, have you ever done any stunts, like push-ups on top of a car?
You know what? No, I get a stunt double, do it all, take care of all of it. Like kind of similar to shoveling snow, I get someone else to do it.
Yeah, well, I guess you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Local sports, though, we're talking Taylor Gauthier. Since entering the league after being drafted by the Prince George Cougars, 10th overall in the 2016 WHL Bantam Draft, the top goaltender selected in that year's draft. In the 4 seasons with the Cats, Gauthier has played 137 games and has continuously improved his save percentage and goals against average each and every season behind a Cougars team that has struggled. His record has improved year after year, all while being kept close by Hockey Canada, winning gold at the Holinka Memorial Tournament and making the World Juniors team this past year. But one thing has continued to evade Gauthier despite his accolades: a call from an NHL team on draft day.
It's been kind of a mystery as to why he hasn't been drafted because, yeah, if you look at the stats and you see there's a lot of losses and things like that, but at the same time, he's had heavy workloads ever since he got into the league. He hasn't always had the best defense in front of him, so he's been having to kind of carry a lot of that. But I think his save percentage was much better last year. He was on Canada's radar for the World Juniors, and obviously he got that opportunity in camp and everything. And I think it's someone who the people definitely notice him, and he just kind of has to keep doing what he's doing. And obviously it was tough when you have all those losses on your record, but he's shown that he can win games for the team. He can really battle back when he needs to. And when he got to play with Canada in camp and kind of seeing what he could do with that talent, like it showed. So this is a guy that I think's got a lot of talent and just needs a bit of consistency, because there are nights where he's kind of off, but I still like what I see out of him, and I think that he'll get another shot for sure.
It's not every day you get to crack open some mail from players in the National Hockey League, but at PGSS, receiving boxes of equipment from the NHL Players Association is what got their hockey program up off the ground in the first place.
The program first started up back in 2002, and it was the very same support that PGSS continues to receive today that got it all underway nearly 2 decades ago.
The NHLPA Goals and Dreams donated the original sets of gear to get the program going in 2002, as well as a generous donation of a bus. And that's really what allowed the program to get going. There were so many kids that wanted the opportunity to play hockey and didn't have gear, and those sets of gear have just made it possible. And now, as you can see today, we've received 16 more sets, and that means that 16 more kids each year will get to play hockey.
The program typically operates with 6 high-performance classes running through the entire school year, along with 4 beginner classes, 2 running in each semester. The program breaks down barriers for kids who simply just want to be playing the sport of hockey, and the NHL Player Association's Goals and Dreams program has allowed for that to happen here in Prince George.
The beginner program is full of all different types of kids. Some grew up in families where hockey wasn't the main sport and something else was, and now they're looking for an opportunity to play. And others just financially weren't able to afford it when they were younger, and now there's an opportunity for them to try it. And it's been a great addition to the school as far as allowing kids to try something that they might not have otherwise got a chance to experience. And it's such a great game, and this program has provided opportunities for just so many to experience the game that a lot of us love.
In a standard week, the green bus is getting loaded up and heads over to one of the kin centers almost every single day of the school week, with 4 to 5 trips each day. And the students get graded, no different than they would for a standard PE class.
You're graded on a bunch of different things on the ice, and basically the kids come with the right attitude, and they do quite well if they're working hard and trying their best.
Since 2002, the program has had 3 shipments of full sets of equipment from the NHLPA, including sticks, helmets, skates, and everything else needed to step foot onto the ice.
The Cougars and Spruce Kings aren't quite in game action quite yet, but let's take a look at last night's games from the Dub as well as today's games. A pair of games from Regina's Hub Center inside the Brant Center yesterday. The Winnipeg Ice handed the Saskatoon Blades their first loss on the year. In the evening tilt, the Regina Pats got their first win of the season against the struggling Swift Current Broncos. First overall pick Connor Bedard continues his scoring tear after tallying another goal and an assist in Regina's 3-2 win. Today, a trio of games. The Ice, once again, put the first blemish on the once undefeated Moose Jaw Warriors record. And this evening, the Swift Current Broncos will take on the Brandon Wheat Kings. And the U.S. Division gets their season underway with the Portland Winterhawks taking on the Tri-City Americans at 7:05 from the Toyota Center. And Caden, we're just over, or a week actually, exactly from the start of the BC Division season. A week and a day from the Prince George Cougars finally taking the ice down in Kamloops.
Yeah, I was going to say, all the other divisions are started now as of tonight. So, it's exciting to know that, as a sports guy, there's, action for you now.
I've got a job to do. It's nice.
It'll be good to see when those guys can come to the CN Center as well. I know Bedard, I'll be there for that.
I will be too.
Elite. He's elite. Elite Connor, you think Connor McDavid, this is the next guy.
All right, Kate.
You think? I don't know. I'm just a news guy. Coming up next here on the CKPG News, it's a staycation here in our own backyard you might want to consider, and it's just west of the city.
Let's take a look back at some of today's top stories on the CKPG News. The province has announced a number of priority groups who will get a COVID vaccine sooner, regardless of their age. And Tidewater plans to build a mega biodiesel plant on PG Pulp Mill Road worth over $225 million. And putting faces to numbers, the story of a Prince George family who lost a loved one in the overdose crisis. If you want to learn more about these stories or anything else we've talked about here tonight, head over to ckpgtoday.ca.
In the Mud River area just west of the city, Woodhouse Cottages and Ranch are set to open up their bubble house this May. Check this out. The bubble house is a 4-room bubble cottage set in the woods with all of the necessities included. They are now looking for Prince George residents looking for a staycation because international guests are continuing to cancel their visits. But bookings are filling up fast, so guests are encouraged to book their stay soon on woodhouseranch.ca. Very good staycation. I could use one myself, that's for sure. The weather is pretty good today or this evening. I guess the sun has come out now. It was expected to clear up this evening and hopefully should stay clear here for the next number of days here in the city. But dust cleaning going, or street sweeping, I should say, going on here in the city as well to try and keep that dust down. I know we were in a dust advisory last week, but that has since been lifted, of course, and things haven't been too bad. The precipitation and the temperature variation throughout the day have kept things relatively calm on that front. So we take a look at the futurecast here for the next 48 hours. There's plenty of action here around the broadcast region, maybe not a lot really around Prince George directly. You can see it there at the end of the futurecast on March 19th. But other than that, there's really not much precipitation here in Prince George to look forward to. And if it is going to fall, it's likely going to be rain. Of course, if it does fall at night, there's a chance of some snow, of course, but it will melt during the days. We're still seeing very nice daytime highs here across the broadcast region. I know Saturday's a little bit chillier than the rest, but we'll rebound nicely on Sunday. Burns Lake, here's your 3-day outlook. -10 on Friday overnight, heading into Saturday. It's only going to get up to 2 degrees, but bounce back on Sunday. And if there is some snowfall of note on Saturday night into Sunday morning, it should melt away by Monday. Taking a look at Mackenzie now, north of the city, it's 7 degrees tomorrow. Expect sunny conditions once again. On Saturday, it's more of the same. Sunday, it's kind of the same thing except minus the sunshine part. Just some cloudiness and precipitation possible here with overnight lows consistent at about -5. We're taking a look at McBride. It's going to be very wet compared to the rest of the broadcast region. Now, shouldn't actually be that bad, but comparably to everyone else, it is the wettest area. 9 degrees tomorrow is a high with some sunshine, some rain, some clouds, everything mixed in. For Quesnel, this is what you can expect: sunshine tomorrow and then some precipitation mixed in on Saturday and Sunday. You can see the chance of precipitation there on the bottom. It's not so great on Saturday. It's a little higher on Sunday, but nonetheless, highs definitely above the zero margin. As we take a look at Prince George here, tomorrow expect 9 degrees as a high with some sunshine, some rain, some more sunshine, and then some clouds eventually on Sunday as we take a look at the 5-day forecast for Prince George. And there's really a range of all conditions that you could ask for. But hey, we're going to be in the positives nonetheless. When the CKPG News continues, Thatcher Demko continues to keep hopes alive for Canucks fans. Ethan Reddy has highlights from the Canucks next.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Mix and match 2 favorites for only $7.99 each. Choose from chicken, pastas, or medium 2-topping pizzas.
And of course, Ethan Reddy back with more sports here. And I learned something new today, that skateboarding, well, it's not in the Olympics.
It hasn't been. It will begin. I guess this brings me to my first and only question to you. Perhaps. We'll see how this goes. But of the sports that aren't in the Olympics, what would you like to see there? Winter or summer, it doesn't matter.
Well, personally myself, I know I would never actually make an Olympic team. But I know golf is actually one that, I'm not great at, but maybe, I would like to see, to be honest, Tiger Woods at the Olympics. I would love to see that.
Well, for me, it would be, I know it is called American football, but during my time playing, knowing that there is a World Cup for American football, Japan actually is quite good. Canada is very good as well. It would be an interesting sport to see. Long ways to go.
I think it's the more the merrier at the Olympics.
Absolutely. It makes it all the more exciting, for sure. But to paraphrase Cool Running, skateboarders are feeling very Olympic this year. And if the Tokyo Olympics go off as planned, it'll be the first one with skateboarding as a medal sport. And that's good news for Canada because we are one of the top nations in the world at it. And that is due in large part to the skateboarding culture that was built on the West Coast.
This is how Canadian skateboarders, particularly those from BC, became some of the best on the planet. Skate parks. They're everywhere and they're producing Olympians.
It's a little bit of like one of those field of dreams, like if you build it, they will come, and we're seeing that with our national champion is from Kamloops, Matt Berger, for street, and he was just a kid when the Kamloops skate park got built.
And the skate parks are built for both Olympic disciplines, street.
So you're jumping down stair sets, you're sliding down rails, you're grinding ledges, etc.
And park.
Park skateboarding side of thing is derived from kids would be draining out their backyard swimming pools, trying to get out of the pool, see how high you can go, and sliding and grinding the edge of the pool.
And because kids can use these parks freely, stars like the aforementioned Matt Berger develop their skills.
Like I said, he's just been that Grom skateboard kid at the skate park since he was 9 years old. He's always had really fast feet. Skateboarding differs from snowboarding in that way, where snowboarding, you want really heavy feet and you want to be grounded on the board so you can deal with the chunder of the different snow textures. Where skateboarding, you're almost like a ballerina on the board. You have to be really light on your feet and quick.
Another Canadian Olympian who was discovered at a skate park is 11-year-old Faye Ebert from Toronto.
She had that kind of je ne sais quoi that you can't teach. You could tell that she was a lifer right away, always wanting to go faster, higher, bigger. And even at 9 years old, she was almost kind of like this feral child that was born on a skateboard.
Because Canada is one of the top skateboarding nations, we can send a team of 12 to Tokyo. And medals are definitely a possibility.
This team that has come together has already made us proud. And we've been very close to podiuming at World Championships before, and it takes a good morning.
And we all know how the Canucks are winning right now. It's 90% Thatcher Demko. They're only averaging a smidge over 2 goals a game, but they're 7-2.
Acquired off of waivers from Toronto, Jimmy Vesey took warm-up but didn't play due to issues with his work permit. In the first few minutes of the game, Bo Horvat takes some patience in connecting with Brock Besser before he puts it below blocker side to put the Canucks ahead 1-0.
What a great chance, and he buries it to give Vancouver the 1-0 version of him.
Höglander forces the turnover and quickly moves in transition before finding Captain Horvat tucked against the near post.
Looks for Horvat, scores!
2-0 for the Nucks. Demko unable to control the rebound off of a Clark Bishop shot, and Ryan Dzingel pounces on it to get the Sens on the board and cuts into that Canucks lead. Just over 5 minutes into the third period, Tanner Pearson falls and is hurt. He ends up leaving the game, all while Joey Decord also injures his knee and leaves the game.
He twists that knee or ankle coming across, and like I said, he was down for a few seconds.
As a result, Philip Gustafsson makes his NHL debut in relief. Josh Norris ties things up with this quick snapshot.
Gets on it, and when he gets on it, Schmidt can't handle it. And because he can't handle the puck, it stays alive.
And that forces overtime, where Brady Tkachuk comes in but can't beat Demko. To a shootout now. Demko appears to stop Drake Batherson with the boot, and then it's Adam Gaudette.
Give him nothing. Adam Gaudette, 0 for 1 in his career. First attempt of the season. Gaudette in, scores!
Gaudette gets the winner, and the Canucks have now won 6 of their last 7.
This is obviously a good stretch for not only myself but the team. And I knew that I had had some good games in me, and I knew that obviously we didn't have a great start to the year, so we had to start getting wins and getting them quick. So just trying to help out in any way I can and keep growing, keep developing this year.
A trio of Canadians made their mark on the World Championship stage down in Aspen, Colorado earlier this week, and it's been an eventful ride as two of them didn't even make it down to Aspen for the X Games a month ago due to positive COVID-19 tests. To bounce back and finish the way they did, they got placed in the Thursday edition of the CKP3.
Starting things off from the hardwood, Nuggets hosting the Hornets. Facundo Campazzo goes up with the steal. He drops it off behind his back to Michael Porter Jr. for the dunk. Take another look as Campazzo gets the rookie LaMelo Ball to commit, then drops a dime to Porter. In the number 2 spot, how about some Canadiana? Canada earned double gold in snowboard big air as Laurie Bluen and Mark McMorris won their respective events at the Snowboard and Free Ski World Championships in Aspen, Colorado. Max Perot gave Canada a 3rd spot on the snowboarding podium with a 2nd place finish in the men's event. And finally, Mika Zibanejad scored 3 straight goals in 3 different ways in the 2nd period against the Philadelphia Flyers. Shorthanded, power play, and even strength. Zibanejad ties an NHL record with 6 points in the 2nd period, as he also added 3 assists, taking number 1 spot in tonight's CKP3.
And in tonight's game of the night, actually, our very own Spencer Schultz, a big Yotes guy, Arizona Coyotes, taking on the Anaheim Ducks at 7 o'clock. As you can see there, big interesting fact for Arizona, nothing but go Yotes from our very own Spencer Schultz.
I think Paul Bissonnette would actually agree as well.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. 3rd line gem, 4th line gem. Nothing higher though.
Well, there's still Phil Kessel as well. But anyways, when the CKPG news continues, there are some scientists planning to build a doomsday shelter on another planet. Some scientists are worried there's no real insurance policy here for life on Earth, but they want to create one. Engineers at the University of Arizona want to build a sort of doomsday vault filled with seeds, sperm, eggs, and everything required to repopulate species of plants and animals that live here on Earth. They're so worried about the end of time here on Earth, they want to bury it on the moon. Not only would it take 250 rocket launches to get samples from 6.7 billion species to the lunar surface, the technology to keep it cold enough for long-term storage, unfortunately, doesn't exist yet. Yeah, we'll have to wait another day to see that, that's for sure. Thanks, that's all the time we have tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Tonight, your last look is the Vanderhoof Airport.